You've tuned in to the big story here on the BDTV Breakfast Show. I am Deborah Ezeh. This morning, we're shining the spotlight on the force that is shaping Africa's economic future, female entrepreneurs. Across the continent, women are starting businesses faster than anywhere else in the world. Yet, despite this entrepreneur energy, many still face steep barrier from limited access to finance and markets to cultural and structural challenges that make scaling up a tough journey. This morning, we want to find out what opportunities exist for female or African female entrepreneurs and how government, investors, and global partners can unlock the full potential of women-led enterprises. Joining me to unpack this is Datari Ladejo. She's the founder, CEO, Fernhill Digital. Good morning, Datari. It's good to have you on the big story this morning.
Good morning. It's lovely to be here.
All right, let me not forget to add that you are a multi-jurisdictional trained lawyer with expertise in international dispute resolution and economic law, and also with an LLB from the University of Stanfordshire and a BL from the Nigerian Law School, and also an LLM from the University of London Institute of Paris. And you're also a contributor, a member contributor and leader of the Women Executive Group in the Forbes Agency Council, and currently the only Nigerian woman to currently hold this position. Am I right?
You are. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you. It's really an honor to have you on the show. All right, let's go straight into it. Africa is often described as the new frontier for entrepreneurship, but female founders, they face unique hurdles. Now, from your perspective, what does this current landscape for African women in the business look like?
Right. So, in terms of the digital economy, first of all, it's important to note that in terms of African adults, 24% of African adults are actually female entrepreneurs. So, it's such a huge potential and such a huge demographic that belong to the female entrepreneurs in Africa. However, there are systemic barriers that are slowing down adoption in terms of digital literacy, digital skills. Now, people often look to the technology and they feel that empowering women digitally is about giving them access to digital technology, teaching them about AI. But it's so much more than the technology. It's about the skills, the tools, and the confidence to be able to operate in the digital economy. And in Africa, some of the infrastructure that we currently have in place, unfortunately, isn't enabling that, although we are becoming more progressive in that regard. So, for example, internet access. Women are 34% less likely to have internet access as opposed to their male counterparts. So when women don't have access to be able to, take their businesses from manual processes to online, and they don't have things like, for example, the data, the mobile technology to be able to operate online effectively, it becomes a little bit of a hindrance for them. And it's something that we are seeing the government really look towards in terms of policies and infrastructures to support women. One key thing to also note is that when women are economically empowered, typically 90% of the income generated and the profit they invest back into their homes, their families, and their communities. So it's more important now than ever for us to get women involved and participating in the digital economy, not just as, female entrepreneurs, but driving innovation and change in the
Hmm.
digital economy.
All right, Desiree, many women cite access to finance as the number one challenge. Now, beyond funding, what are the other hidden barriers that you think deserve more attention?
Okay, so funding is definitely a big challenge. A lot of women cite the fact that when they go to get loans, they're not seen as credible businesses, or they don't even have the information or the resources or the access to this financial knowledge in the first place. I think for me, one of the biggest hindrances that we have at the moment is actual digital literacy. So understanding digital tools, how they operate, and how you can incorporate them into your business. A lot of women focus on social media, so they use social media as a marketing platform. But digital technology is so much more than that. It can actually save so many costs in terms of hiring out a full team. It can help you to operate more efficiently. You can automate your processes. And for women, in terms of finance, typically, especially in an African context, we've been taught to shy away from money and talk around finances. So men are a lot more developed and exposed in this regard. Women can use digital tools to, first of all, plan their finances, do better bookkeeping and accounting. And actually, with some of the digital platforms and the innovation in fintech at the moment, women can actually save and invest. And the barriers to the world have now been brought down with the new digital economy. A woman can be in Nigeria with her business and selling to people all over the world. It's time for women to start exporting their products, to start connecting with people internationally. And I think that they just lack the resources and the information, which is something that I am very passionate about. My agency, Fernhill Digital, helps businesses to be able to navigate the digital economy. And also my NGO, Digital Women Africa, helps women with these skills, these resources, and also communities. A lot of women feel isolated, right? They're in families, they want to be more economically empowered, but they don't know where to start. The online world gives them access to so many support systems and communities that can give them the resources and knowledge to be able to thrive in the digital economy.
All right. Do you believe African government and financial institutions are doing enough to support women entrepreneurs, or are we still scratching the surface?
So it's an interesting question. Are we doing enough? I want to first of all state the fact that this isn't just an African problem. It is actually a global endemic. So I don't want to highlight Africa and say that we're not doing enough. Globally, women are actually behind in terms of participation in the digital economy. Now, one thing that I have personally seen in Nigeria, which is where I have the most knowledge, is specific programs that are targeted at women by the government. The Ministry of Communications and the Digital Economy, they actually have a 3MTT program where women can access skills and training, support, and mentorship to thrive in the digital economy. And there are a lot of NGOs such as mine and social enterprises that are trying to support women. So I feel like in Africa, we've been blamed for so many things. I wouldn't want to say that the African governments are not doing enough. I think that we are a bit late to the party, but now we've woken up. And I think people are recognizing that Africa is a force to be reckoned with, that we have so many skills, so much creativity that can be exported. So now we're playing catch up, but I would say that the government is putting in their best effort to support women. Can more be done? Absolutely. But are we recognizing the fact that women are a specific subset that need additional support? Yes, we are as well.
All right. You can actually agree with me that despite the odds that we mentioned, African women are innovating in tech, agriculture, fashion, and so many other fields. So can you share some inspiring examples of women breaking through these barriers?
Yes, absolutely. So from a digital perspective, there's so many women in tech that are doing so well. For example, we have, I think some of the examples are in the fintech space. Like we have, leaders in Piggyvest. We have fashion entrepreneurs that are starting, their online fashion businesses. I don't want to call out people specifically, but we are seeing women in Africa take up space in the technology sector in different ways. So they're showing how, first of all, women entrepreneurs can transport their fashion internationally, can transport their music internationally. We're seeing women in tech rise up and speak and create examples that other women can aspire to. I would say 10 years ago, we didn't have many women in these male-dominated industries, such as myself, that are coming out and actually sharing. Social media has become a powerful tool for these women to actually communicate, share their journeys authentically, and teach people about how they can break into these careers. So without naming specific success stories, I think there are a lot of women in Africa that are now doing this very successfully.
All right, let's shift our focus to the global partners. Now, global partners and investors often talk about wanting to empower African women. In your view, what is the difference between token empowerment and real opportunity creation?
So, token empowerment is funding, right? Now, if you give somebody funds to be able to empower them in their business, it can help for a certain amount of time. But I think we need to move past the empowerment and getting people off the ground to the sustenance phase. Now, sustenance, like I mentioned at the beginning, it involves so much more than just money. It involves the confidence. And a lot of women, they don't have the confidence in, being able to be a successful entrepreneur. They haven't received, the kind of mentorship or seen women that have done it successfully. Traditionally in Africa, there have been a lot of myths and a lot of notions around how women have made their money. So I think teaching women, mentoring them, giving them guidance and the right tools, giving them the right connections and communities is another way that globally we can empower women in the digital economy.
All right, so on a personal note, as someone actively engaged in this space, what has your journey taught you about resilience and possibility as a female entrepreneur?
Right. Well, as you mentioned at the beginning, I started my career as a lawyer and I was doing quite well working in a top law firm. In fact, I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and when they found out where I worked, they were like, "Why would you ever leave that kind of job to go and venture into the world of entrepreneurship?" But I think empowering myself with the skills, the digital skills to be able to support myself financially and to be able to start a business in the digital economy has taught me so much about the power of women and the things that we can achieve when we put our mind to it. First of all, I had to completely upskill myself. So, one thing about the digital economy is it gives us access to resources at our fingertips, whereby we have the power to change our future and our trajectory. And I'm an example of that. It took me, my agency turns 4 in September. And during the 4 years that I've been running this particular agency, we've had a lot of success, but there have been a lot of ups and downs. I think for women, we just need more women like myself to come out and show them that it is possible, to encourage them that, it is a difficult space to get into, but you have the power at your fingertips to actually change your situation, to empower yourself economically, and to start a viable business that is sustainable. One benefit of the digital world is it is a leveler. It breaks down barriers to access and entry that people ordinarily would have had. For example, to actually, start a brick and mortar business, you need funding, you need startup capital, you need staff. But in the digital economy, you can start literally with your phone, you can take free courses, and you can upskill yourself. So I think my personal story, I hope that it is an example to others that if you're passionate and you stick to it, there's no limits to what you can achieve. I've achieved a lot in a very short space of time. So I hope that it inspires other women that they can do the same.
Of course. What other advice would you give to young African women with a business idea, but they do not have resources or connection to pull it through?
I would say start with what you have, where you are. I think social media is an amazing free tool that people can use to market a business. Ultimately, you have to believe in your idea and your business because society won't always hold your hand and cheer you on. You have to be your first, customer and your CMO and your CEO and your CFO in the beginning. I think if you have an idea, it's important for women to also know that you have to assess it, look at the feasibility of your idea, and really and truly, not all ideas are meant to be actioned. Some of them are just ideas that we have. But if you have a business that you believe is viable and you can contribute to the economy, then go for it. Start with what you have. The resources will come, the support will come. Use free resources that are available to you, such as social media, AI tools to support you in starting your business.
All right, let's look at the industries that you believe hold the greatest untapped opportunities for women founder in Africa.
So I think there's so many industries that have untapped potential. I think fashion is one of the industries that has a lot of potential that is yet to be harnessed. African fashion is really going global, and there's a lot of global interest in it now. What may have been a small tailoring business 5 years ago can actually be an international phenomenon. With women knowing how to market their products online. I think also as well education. So if you have a skill, monetize it. People are making so much money from digital skills, and this is money that you can literally be making in your sleep. So people are monetizing their knowledge, they're creating digital products, ebooks, webinars, lots of downloadable resources that people you can literally put on online platforms such as Seller, such as Etsy, and people can just buy them, and you don't have to do anything other than creating that initial product. So I'd say those are two industries that stand out to me as things that women can immediately tap into and, start businesses in those areas.
All right, and finally, before we let you go, just tell us some of the success stories of Fernhill Digital as it relates to empowerment of women.
Okay, so first of all, my staff, a lot of them are young women. So they're women that have come out of university, maybe have studied other things and have been able to upskill themselves and, start tech careers. I think some of the success stories that we have at Fernhill Digital are our staff and teaching them the values. So one thing that we have to remember is that a lot of the younger generation, they actually started their careers during the pandemic. So they have a different outlook in terms of careers, in terms of innovation. And for me as a business owner, I have had to embrace that and unlearn some things that I know about forming a career and actually learn from them. So I think one of the success stories has been the way that we've been able to empower our team, we've been able to help them grow, and the way that they've been able to help them grow, help us grow. So we've literally grown together. I think more companies in Africa need to not see the Gen Z generation as difficult or as people that, don't want to conform to the norm, but see them as real drivers of innovation, see them as the future, and, embrace their ideas more and adapt your learning and leadership styles to be able to nurture their growth as opposed to just thinking you don't understand them, basically.
That has actually informed more questions. So do you think the African society are shifting fast enough in how they view women leaders in business with everything you've said?
So I personally think that we can do better in that regard. And I take myself as an example. When I was getting into the business space as an entrepreneur, I didn't see as many examples within the African context as I was seeing internationally. Women that are able to blend family life, their career, running a successful business, and still be somewhat normal. So I think one thing that we need to do is address the mindset that women in business are, aggressive, or women in business, they're not, what's the word, submissive, or women in business are, trying to be like men. We're not. I think that in Africa, we need more role models to come out. I think we need more women to showcase their stories. And some of the women in Africa that I look up to, they're balancing everything. They're able to manage the home front, they're able to manage their businesses, and they're able to have self-fulfillment and, a happy life. So I think that more women need to come out on social media, build their personal brands, and actually show other women what is possible. We do have more people that are rising up, but even now, when I look for inspiration as a CEO and as a leader, I do see some people, but it is a somewhat lonely walk. I think having more communities of women where we can connect and engage with one another, encourage one another, share resources, share opportunities, and break this narrative or change the narrative that women compete against women or women are not helpful to other women, and showcase to the world that African women are stronger together. We've woken up, we're standing up and taking our place in the global digital economy, and we're a force to be reckoned with.
Mm. All right, before I finally let you go, in your view, what do you think is differentiating Africa female entrepreneurs from other advanced economies?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? It froze for a second.
Okay, in your view, what do you think is differentiating the female African entrepreneurs from other advanced economies?
Okay, so first of all, I earlier on we spoke about resilience. So we have to look at the things that African women entrepreneurs face on a daily basis. First of all, in a lot of African countries, the infrastructure isn't supportive of business, right? The cost of data is high, the cost of living is high, we don't have steady power supply. There's so many things that women have to face in Africa. So you can't compare a woman in rural Kenya who is trying to start a business to a woman in, let's say, Canada or America or in Spain. They're facing two completely different things. Another thing is our economy and the societal barriers that have been created by traditional systems. For example, we look at women in rural Nigeria in the northern areas. One thing that people don't often take into cognizance is the fact that a lot of these women are being empowered now by business and the digital economy because, traditionally in, for example, some Muslim cultures, it's not okay for a woman to go and have a meeting with a man. You can't just, book a meeting and have a business call with a man. It's frowned upon. So women in African contexts are often facing a lot of judgment from society. Oh, she's doing too much, she's too loud, this woman, I'm sure because she's doing all of these things, her husband is not eating at home. So we have so many things that we're facing, but I think that African female entrepreneurs are the most resilient because beyond those things, we're still able to thrive. We're still able to keep on going. We're looking at these stones that are being thrown at us by society, and we're using them to build, foundations. We're using them, the lemons, let's say, that have been given us to create lemonade. We're really thriving, and it's something that the world is waking up to and seeing. We just need to see the power that we have within us. We need to see the untapped potential of African women and leverage it, because in our history, it's always been the Western world that come in and see our potential and then they help us. But this is a real opportunity that we have in Africa to say, no, we're taking the lead. We know the talent that we have, we know the creativity that we have, and we are exporting it to the world. We're not waiting for you to come and give us a handout or to help us. We are the ones that are coming to meet you at the table, and we're bringing you what we have.
I must say, really powerful stuff right there. Thank you so much for your insight this morning, Datari Ladejo.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. We're on to Datari Ladejo. She's the founder, CEO, Fernhill Digital on The Big Story. We'll go on a quick break now. When we come back, the breakfast show continues with the social listening. Just stay with us.